What's up everybody, Johnnie Omega here, giving you my top 10 most anticipated movies of 2019. Now I already know I'm going to see a lot of movies this year, but if I could only see 10, these would be the 10 I would pick. Now at first I wasn't going to do any honorable mentions on this list, but hey, what's a list without honorable mentions? Plus I'm anticipating on seeing these movies anyway, so I figure I'd give them a quick shout out. Now these aren't in any particular order, but just to name them off real quick, first we have Brightburn, X-Men New Mutants, Toy Story 4, Us, and last but not least, Star Wars Episode 9. So now that we have those out of the way, I can officially begin my list, and starting at number 10, we have The Lion King. The animated version of this movie is hands down my favorite Disney animated movie, so when they announced that they were doing this movie, especially in the whole live action type of style, I was immediately on board. Especially because of the fact that Jon Favreau is directing, because I was never a big fan of the animated Jungle Book movie, but I loved what he did in the live action version. So my thought is, if he can make me like a remake of a movie I didn't originally like, what is he gonna do with a movie that I already love? The only negative though was that I just couldn't put this movie any higher than 10, because at the end of the day, I've already seen the movie. True, it's not going to be a shot-for-shot remake, there's going to be new things in there, but generally speaking, we already know what's going to happen. The biggest intrigue to me isn't even the story, it's simply the presentation and how realistic these animals look. But already knowing the story admittedly is a drawback, and even though I'm very much anticipating this movie, still can't go any higher than 10. Next on the list at number 9, we have Shazam. I was never a big fan of Shazam, and I'm not an authority on that character whatsoever, but for better or worse, I am a huge fan of the DCEU, so I'm gonna see this movie. What solidified this movie on this list for me is the fact that the trailer looked great. In a world full of superheroes, you have a kid that turns into one simply by saying the word Shazam. I'm not sure exactly why, but a character with the powers that rival Superman but the mind of a kid never interests me on the comic book page, but it interests me in this movie. But I do have to admit that part of the interest is simply the fact that The Rock is going to play Black Adam, and even though he's probably not going to be in this movie, I know he's coming, and I'm very interested to see The Rock playing a villain. But regardless of who's in it, I'm really hoping that Aquaman wasn't a fluke and that Shazam could keep the DCEU going in the right direction. Next on the list at number 8, we have Spider-Man Far From Home. Spider-Man Homecoming exceeded my expectations, and I'm really hoping that this movie does the same. Jake Gyllenhaal was a great addition to the cast, and I really hope he does a good job playing Mysterio. And even though I don't know how big his role is going to be, I'm happy to see Michael Keaton back playing the Vulture as well. But if nothing else, the interest of what's going to happen after Endgame is going to have me there opening night. Next on the list at number 7, we have X-Men Dark Phoenix. To say that the X-Men franchise isn't filled with both hits and misses is an understatement. But out of all the movies on this list, this movie has the biggest potential to blow up in my face and be a major disappointment because there's already so many different things going against it. You have Simon Kinberg directing, who's never directed a movie before. He's also been the writer on 3 other X-Men movies. One was great, one was good, the other was The Last Stand. Then the movie was pushed back not once, but twice, which is never a good sign. But even with all that, I'm still looking forward to this movie. I'm really hoping that Kinberg has paid attention to all the criticism and backlash that The Last Stand got back in 2006, and he uses this to make a great script and hits this movie out of the park. Next on the list at number 6, we have John Wick 3. I think we can all agree that there's a big difference between how good we thought the first John Wick movie was going to be and how good it actually was. Then 2 came out and it was even better. And it's set up for number 3 so good that I'm probably going to rewatch 1 and 2 right before I see 3. Part of my excitement about wanting to see this movie is because I want to do a video talking about my all-time favorite trilogies, and this movie's holding it up. Because if the 3rd movie lives up to expectations, then it's definitely going to be in consideration for my list. With most trilogies, the 3rd movie is the weakest link, and if John Wick 3 isn't, how can it not be up for consideration? Next on the list at number 5, we have Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Whatever this movie is going to be about, it made this list the second it was announced Quentin Tarantino was directing. Quentin Tarantino is one of the few directors that you could literally say to me, yo, in this room over here, they about to play a movie. I can't tell you who's in it. Can't even tell you what it's about. All I can tell you is that Quentin Tarantino was directing it. Yo, take my money. What are we standing here for? I would pay to go see that movie, no questions asked. But not only does the movie take place in 1969 around the time of the Manson murders, but in the cast you got Leonardo DiCaprio, Brad Pitt, Margot Robbie, Al Pacino. I just wish I didn't have to wait till July to see this movie. But Tarantino doesn't disappoint, so I'm sure it's going to be worth the wait. Next on the list at number 4, we have Glass. I saw Unbreakable a long time ago. I thought the movie was good, but it had been so long since I saw it that I actually forgot about it. I saw Split and I loved it. Then I saw the twist ending the Split. Oh, okay, Shyamalan, I see you over there. I see you doing big things, bruh. So now I'm stuck. I gotta see how this trilogy wraps up. But with the fact that M. Night Shyamalan doesn't have the best track record when it comes to movies, and the third movie in the trilogy is generally the weakest one, I'm really hoping he does a good job with this one. So now we're getting into the nitty gritty, because if I could only see 3 movies for this entire year, these would easily be those 3. So coming in at number 3, we have It Chapter 2. I was a huge fan of the original TV movie starring Tim Curry, and I absolutely love what they did with the first It movie back in 2017. To me, it's the best Stephen King adapted movie of all time, and Chapter 2 has the potential to be even better. Not only are the kid actors back for flashback scenes, but the adult actors for the characters are made up of some really good actors. And then the fact that Bill Skarsgård is back playing Pennywise is just the icing on the cake. Thinking about it, I don't really have any concerns about this movie. Between the actors, the director, and the source material, you kind of have to go out of your way to make this a bad movie. But we'll see what happens. Next on the list at number 2, we have Joker. This movie is kind of funny because for some people you might think this movie is too high on my list, and for some people that actually know me, you might think this movie is too low on my list. So you have Joaquin Phoenix playing my all-time favorite comic book villain in a movie where you could pretty much do anything you want. It's a no-brainer this movie is in my top 3. There was serious consideration with making this movie number 1 on my list, but I just couldn't justify making it higher than the movie that actually is number 1. Now there hasn't been a trailer released for this movie yet, so I could be proven totally wrong, but as of right now, I love the fact that this is a villain origin story that's practically devoid of a true antagonist. A Joker movie without Batman might seem like a bad idea, but if Warner Brothers does this right, they could have something really special in their hands. Joaquin Phoenix is notorious for being picky about his movie roles, so the fact that he's even doing this to me is a great sign. And since he doesn't like to play the same character more than once, it's pretty safe to assume that this movie isn't going to lead into a sequel. And knowing that piece of information makes me even more excited for this movie, because I think everybody involved is going to put all their eggs in this one basket to make this movie as great as it possibly can be. And to top the list off at number 1, we have Avengers Endgame. Now this one's really no surprise, because I don't know a single person who saw Infinity War that's not anticipating Endgame. The main factor that put this movie at number 1 for me over the Joker is simply the fact that I gotta know what happened after the snap. I gotta know what happened now that half of the population is gone. As far as comic book movies go, the Russo brothers are just killing it. The biggest thing that made Infinity War so great for me is that the bad guy won. So I'm really hoping that the Russo brothers don't get generic with this movie, where they just reverse the snap, everybody comes back, defeats the bad guy, everybody lives happily ever after. The MCU was long overdue for actions that have consequences that totally change the landscape moving forward. I don't know which one, but I think this is the movie where at least one of the OG Avengers doesn't make it out. I'm not going to speculate on who it might be, but not only would I be surprised, I would actually be disappointed if everybody made it out okay. But I guess I'm just going to have to wait and see like the rest of y'all. So that's my list of what I'm anticipating for 2019. Comment below and let me know what you guys want to see. Thanks for watching, and if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button to see what we got coming next.